despite that is the person who is running against Joe Biden. It should be easy, right? And yet, it doesn't appear all that easy. Let's go ahead and put this poll up there on the screen. Okay, so what do we see here? Well, things are not so good here, Ryan. What do you think? Who do you think did a better job of handling the economy? Donald Trump when he was president or Joe Biden during his presidency so far? Trump, 54%. Biden, 36%. Neither, 7%. Not an opinion, 3%. The reason why this is so important, Ryan, is that all throughout the 2020 election, every single time that we heard, oh, Trump doesn't have a chance, Trump doesn't have a chance, he's losing head-to-head Biden, losing head-to-head Biden. The Trump campaign and several other polling people who got it more right than they were always said, but look at the economy number. And all the way up until the day of the 2020 election, Donald Trump led Joe Biden on the economy. And that economic figure ended up being a far better predictor of the 2020 outcome in the race, specifically in the battleground states. Now, of course, Biden won a very narrow victory, only 30,000 votes across 3 different states. But the more important thing is that not only is this Biden v. Trump in terms of their economic numbers, Biden's numbers are actually lower in battleground states, places like Pennsylvania, in Arizona, in Michigan, for example, Wisconsin, across the industrial Midwest, making it much more of a jump ball than people are willing to realize.
And I think he has to be the least popular incumbent president going into re-election that has unified party support and the belief among party leaders that he's going to win.
That's smart.
Like, you've never had that combination before. Normally, it's like, Jimmy Carter, unpopular president, a lot of people are nervous that he's going to lose to whoever Republicans put up in 1980, and you even get Ted Kennedy running a primary against him. To have LBJ in 1968. 1968, yeah. He's deeply unpopular, and the party elites like, you know what, he might lose, and that opens up possibility. But now, party elites just believe that he's going to win. And they don't care what poll numbers, they don't care what the American people say about whether or not they're going to vote for Joe Biden. They just are head in the sand, confident, you know what, Biden's got this, and therefore there can be no challenge to him. We can't think about any other alternative process here. Yes. We can't gently nudge him aside. There's not even the remotest kind of talk of that. It's a really striking moment, and maybe it has to do with the hyperpolarization that we're now in, which we were not in 1968 and 1980. Those are times where lots of people are switching parties from every 4 years.
True.
Richard Nixon launching the EPA, stuff like that. And so because everybody's so polarized, it's like, well, I'm a Democrat. This is our guy.
And that's it.
And that's it. Done. Yeah. Conversation's over. When we'll talk about Simone Sanders, that's basically what's the response.
And unfortunately, though, is that this is still manifesting in deep unease for a lot of Americans. This one also, you can't just put this stuff in a bottle, put this up there on the screen. Right now, 63% of people say that Biden does not have the mental sharpness to serve effectively as president. And that just shows you, even vis-a-vis Trump, Donald Trump is at 54%. Majority of Americans, many people don't even like Trump, but they're like, yeah, he's got the mental acuity and he's mentally sharp enough to serve. Well, for Biden, it's only 32%. I mean, when you've only got a third of the country that thinks that you are sharp enough to be president. Now, listen, I mean, I think that people probably felt that way, at least in some part, in 2020. But I think that the important thing is that the only 43% of Americans felt that way about Joe Biden in 2020, 54% a year ago, and now up to 63%. So it doesn't take a genius to see here that we're going exponential in the amount of the American people that think that he's way too old to be president, or at the very least doesn't have the mental acuity to serve. And again, only exposure is going to make that worse. One of the reasons that number has gone up is because in 2020, he didn't do anything. All of his old man moments during the pandemic were confined to the basement. Well, now it's like you can try and hide in the White House, but it's inevitable. You're going to talk. And he has all kinds of crazy dad moments, or not even dad, like great granddad moments, like every other day, which are bad for him.
Yes, and there's some of them I can't even watch just for the
I know it's very sad.
I mean, the idea that only 54% of people think Trump has a mental acuity is staggering, and then to see that he's beating Biden in a landslide, on that. And we have a year and a half left to go.
Good point. Right.
And the problem for Biden here is that everyone in the world has experience with people in their 80s and 90s. And we all know that some of them are extraordinarily crisp and you would trust them with surgery even.
Right.
We also know that some of them not so much. And we also know that you can decline quickly. And this is not something that anybody had to go to college for or be able to read scientific papers. It's just from our own experience of life.
It's very human. Yeah, I mean, just the other day, I was walking my dog, and this woman was crossing the street, and this very elderly woman just wasn't paying attention and came inches away from hitting this woman. And she started crying. I could see her, like, holding her hand. And I was just like, look, this is really sad. She just realized in that moment, it's like, lady, you are way too old to drive. I'm sorry. Like, it's just not, like, you came inches away from taking another person's life. And we all know the story of the person who refuses to stop driving because they don't realize it. When you're in the car and you're like, are we gonna be okay here? Like, this is not so great. It's uncomfortable. Like, I get it. And what the solution is, I honestly have no idea. Maybe mandatory testing over the age of 75. Just throwing that out there. Let's put this up there on the screen, though, which is that this is manifesting politically. Because right now, in the general election matchup, Trump has the edge. This is it right now. 36% say they're definitely voting for Trump. 9% say they're going to vote Republican. On top of that, 18% are undecided. And then only 38% of people say that they are definitely voting for Joe Biden or the Democrats. I mean, this has Trump up on Joe Biden in a head-to-head poll. Now, listen, is that the major predictor? No. What did we all learn in 2022? Polls are totally wrong. They're wrong in the other direction. In 2020, they were wrong in the Trump direction. Here is my personal bias, as everybody knows, here with polling. I think that when Trump is off the ballot, polling somehow seems to normalize back to the 2012 world, like where polls were actually pretty accurate. If anything, they underestimated Obama. They were there. But when Trump is on the ballot, he seems to have some sort of magical effect where you kind of just have to price in like R+5 or something like that whenever I'm looking. So anyway, my point is that when I look at something like that, I'm like, I actually think Trump is probably even more ahead. Now, though, as I just said, you could make the opposite case. You're like, what are you talking about, Saagar? Stop the Steal just got crushed all across the country. Roe versus Wade, historically unpopular. These idiots can't even win a referendum in Kansas. It's like, how do you think that's going to work out? So I'm not really sure where I fall, but I just think, like, I see signs of peril. On the fundamentals, it's not good for Joe Biden.
Yeah, and a lot of progressives looked at this poll, and whenever either side gets a bad poll, they lift the hood up and they become polling experts.
Oh, yes, that's right. Well, it was overweighted in this one particular
and they're like, the young people and the old people. On this one, the thing that they were dunking on the poll for was being of all adults, rather than either registered voters or likely voters. But there's crosstabs inside it that are for registered voters, and it's not much better for Biden in there. Like, by a hair, it's slightly better. And they polled over 1,000 adults, so you're gonna have a sample size of plenty of registered voters. So, the fact that the kind of first justification or defense of the poll from progressives kind of fell apart as soon as you kind of looked closer in the poll. Now, like you said, it's just one poll. Nobody should change their mind about an election that's 18 months away based on one poll. But nobody should think that this is going to be the slam dunk that it's going to be. I think the reason that Democrats have that confidence that I was talking about earlier is that basically every time Biden's been on the ballot since 2016, Trump has been on the ballot since 2016, he's gotten hammered. 2018, 2020, and then again in 2022 when they were able to kind of nationalize the election around Trump by raiding Mar-a-Lago and getting him in as like the boogeyman that would get Democrats out to vote. So that's 3 elections in a row where Democrats have felt like Trump was on the ballot and they were able to bring out enough turnout and beat him. So that they really are thinking like that's we're gonna be fine again.
Listen, it's a good case. It's certainly possible. The whole point is like, possibility does not equal eventuality. And, it's like, and the probability is so high of Trump being able to win that you really just need to make your peace with that and then try and fight a contested election. Put the next one that is up there on the screen. This is just the general write-up. really what they say is just that Biden faces broad negative ratings at the start of the campaign. Now, all of this can be solved. Don't get us wrong. There are lots of things could happen. 18 months from now, the war in Ukraine could be over. Gas prices could be back at like 250. Think people are going to be being like, COVID who? The economy could, the Fed seems to be pausing. Maybe the economy will get back. Who knows? Here's the other option. The war in Ukraine is a horrific disaster. It's finally spiking gas back up to 5. There's a recession because we have more supply. Both of those cases are easy ones where you could see things changing completely. So this is in no way saying that this is going to predict the results. It's only that he faces a real problem. And if I were him, I would be doing everything possible to try and work myself out of this problem. But that's the one thing I know also that Joe Biden refuses to do. He barely works. He only works for 4 hours a day. Yeah.
Your gas price point is key because who controls gas prices? Putin and MBS.
Putin, yeah.
And so MBS, every single time he's been asked by Trump, has done what is beneficial to Trump. So expect gas prices, I think, next summer to go back up to $4 a gallon with MBS restricting it so that he can get Biden out of there. It's amazing that they have this incredible economy right now, lowest unemployment rate in like 50 years, lowest black unemployment rate in history, down to 3.4% for the overall unemployment rate. Wages rising at 4.4% while inflation is cooling. Yet if you talk to a lot of voters, they'll say, what has Biden done for me? And I think it goes back to his failure to increase the minimum wage. That's not just beneficial to millions of people around the country, but it would be a symbol that he could point to. Like, what did I do? I raised the minimum wage, and they fought you on that. And they had a chance to do that. They had a chance to put it in the American Rescue Plan, but, oh, gee, the parliamentarian. Got to respect the parliamentarian. And so because of that, he can say, okay, unemployment's down, but then people say, okay, well, unemployment's down. How much credit do you get for that? And also, inflation is up, so I'm not so excited about the jobs market because I'm still nervous about inflation. If he had something to point to, like I raised the wage,
I agree with you.
that would be just a knockout blow.
Right. Instead of, well, I'm going to make sure that they don't take control so that they might not pass this unpopular thing on abortion. Although, listen, it has worked, as we have found out for Democratic gubernatorial candidates like Gretchen Whitmer and others. You can do a terrible job and you can still get reelected. So, it's like, don't put that outside the realm. Very, very easy.
Hey guys, ready or not, 2024 is fully upon us now, and Saagar and I have been brainstorming ways that we can really up our game for this critical election.
Yeah, we rely on our premium subs to expand our coverage, to add staff, to upgrade the studio. We just want to give you the best independent coverage of this election, which is possible. So if you can help us out, become a premium subscriber today, breakingpoints.com, or the link is down here in the description video. It really means the world to us, and if you like what we're all about, this is the best possible way to keep us 100% independent, working only for you.